This is Copilots, the podcast where we watch not just the first episode of a show,
but also the second. Some shows just don't have the best pilot episode, and giving it that second chance might just sway your mind.
Here we take that second chance for you and let you know if a show is worth more than just one shot.
I'm Justice. Alongside me is my co-pilot, Josh. Now, let's get ready for takeoff. Your in-flight entertainment this week will be Nobody's Looking.
Nobody's Looking is a 2019 sitcom from Netflix.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not actually from Netflix. It's one of those things where Netflix picks up the rights to a show.
Yeah,
and slaps
so
their
then
name on it.
then now it's a Netflix original series. It's just like, is it though, Netflix? Is it original?
Like how they slap Netflix original series on Lucifer when Lucifer...
Or Arrested Development when they made the last season of the show, and that last season is nowhere near as good.
Yeah, so maybe not a Netflix original, but it's actually a Brazilian show.
Yeah.
Originally in Portuguese.
It labels itself as, when I looked it up, it's a fantasy comedy.
That seems...
I mean, according to what the
wrong.
show is supposed to be about, yeah, that makes sense.
But anyways, episode 1 is called Shoot.
Yeah. Now, even though it is originally in Portuguese, we did watch the English dub of it. We had the subtitles up, so, we kind of read along. Honestly, there's not a huge difference. The dub isn't greatly timed, like the ADR is but it doesn't change much about the context of the show.
I will say that's one thing I've noticed about Netflix's dubs of live action shows. They're all kind of meh.
They're not horrible, but they're not good either.
Yeah. That said, episode 1 is entitled Shoot.
Yes.
And it opens with a news report from different news agencies across the world.
Yeah.
We get some hard facts here that 3 times the number of car accidents have happened. Insurance company stocks are plummeting.
Oil rigs are having accidents.
We then get a slide that says 2 days earlier. And a redhead in a business suit. Well, not a suit.
No,
business
he's in
attire.
A smart casual outfit. He's wearing a short-sleeved white shirt that's buttoned up with a red tie and a pair of khaki pants.
I had business attire in my notes. I said suit. That's my bad.
Yeah.
But he's got business attire, a white shirt, black pants, and he has wings.
Tiny little wings.
And he's also very confused.
And he's standing in a pretty dark and kind of grungy looking room.
Yep, and then a projector flips on.
And a video starts to play on the wall.
And we're introduced to the Angelus System for Human Protection.
In fact, as he's informed, just like we are, he is the newest member of the Angelus System for Human Protection. And the video is like, what are humans? Humans are...
incredibly prone to dying.
Yeah, they're advanced primates that, they're pretty flammable, they're fragile, they're brittle.
And they're prone to expiration. We also learn that what humans call luck is actually the invisible work of an Angelus.
Yes, and we are shown this in an example of a kid sitting in a street and then getting run over by a car. But the kid's fine. So the kid gets run over, but he's fine. And it's because we play the video back again, and this time there's an Angelus watching him as he sits there.
Angelus are easily recognizable because they wear black pants, white shirts, have a red tie, have red hair, and tiny wings.
And then we cut from the video of a kid getting run over but surviving to see a man holding a book, dressed the same, angel wings and red hair, in front of a giant sign that says Angelus District 5511.
Yep, 5511.
And he introduces himself as Fred, the head of that district.
We also learn, though, that our new person, our main character, was created because the chief needed him, specifically needed him.
And Fred is going to be this new individual's boss. And as his boss, it's his job just to make sure that their job goes seamlessly.
Here we learn that the Angelus all follow a set of 4 rules. Rule number 1 is to follow the daily assignment order.
Which we learned just before we get the rules, that the daily assignment order is how they're given what they're supposed to do.
Essentially, an angel is assigned as a guardian angel to a human, and they protect that human throughout the day, making sure that the human doesn't kill themselves, essentially.
And the daily orders are given out by the chief, who is the boss above Fred. He is the big boss, the chief. So, angels, big boss is always God. They just don't say God at any point in this.
Well, also, they're not angels. They're angeluses.
Yeah.
Angeli is the plural. Sorry.
Yeah,
they're
Angeli,
angelus.
and then a single is Angelus.
Yep. Rule number 2 is to not appear to humans.
Yeah,
Angelus,
not
Angeli
allowed.
have the ability to be invisible, and they are to stay that way around humans.
Rule number 3, don't mess with humans you're not assigned to. If they're not your assigned DOA.
DAO.
My mind keeps wanting to make that DOA because it's just the one I know. But if it's not your assigned DOA.
DAO.
They're dead. They might as well be dead on arrival with these shitty angels, man. If it's not your assigned DAO, don't fuck with them.
Yep. And the fourth rule, very simple. Do not ever, under any circumstance, enter the chief's office.
So, obviously, at this point, from every other thing I've seen where, look, it's angels or something else, and don't go into this room because this room is where God is, God's not going to be there.
But also, God is very busy devising the master plan for humanity and must not be interrupted at any point ever.
Yeah. So, God's dead, or gone, or missing, or never existed. That's how the shit always goes.
Or wrote it, I guess. That's spoilers.
Spoilers, man.
Spoilers for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
True.
Where the most intelligent species of all time are mice.
Yes, they
which are actually pre-human hominids who are disguised as mice on Earth so the program could run successfully. This is spoilers for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy now. If you didn't sign up for it, I apologize.
Yeah. And we are also told that our new guy here hasn't been able to make things a bit easier.
The Brief Manual of Humanity.
It's only 4,322 pages, which, honestly, if it's covering like all of human history, as well as subjective human thinking and morality and such, 4,000-ish pages, actually pretty fucking brief.
Yeah, it's definitely not all of that, though, because that would imply that they're going to teach these Angeli about free will and decision-making.
Yeah.
And they definitely don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That said, though, fortunately, Angeli can speed read and retain information very well when they do so.
Mind you, if what we see of him speed reading is what they call speed reading, that's a very underqualified term to call it because he flips through the book and it does that wonderfully classic thing of any form of media ever where someone speed reads in human like levels where it's just, look, I'm flipping through these pages to the point that some of these pages don't part all the way, so you legitimately, if you could see the words in that amount of time, you can't because they're covered by another page still.
Yeah, it's called reading by osmosis.
Yeah, it might as well be like, if that's going to be your go-to gimmick for speed reading, at a point, can we just say no when you just legitimately do read by osmosis? Like, I touched it, I understand it, we're good now.
So our main character reads this book very quickly, and reading is a strong term, picks up a stamp that was like a rubber stamp that was sitting next to the book, and finds his way down some stairs where he walks into an office filled with a bunch of other redheads going about their business.
It's also pretty grungy looking, very, very poor lighting. Overall, not poor lighting from the show standpoint, but poor lighting for the office building.
So you know the movie Jumanji?
Yeah.
The first one.
Does it also make you think of the shoe factory when they go back after it's abandoned?
Yeah, that's exactly where I'm going. I was like, this place is a lot like the
abandoned shoe factory. Yeah.
By the way, that first Jumanji movie, the one with Robin Williams, fucking chef's kiss. It's good.
Oh, I fucking love it.
The new ones are not bad either.
They're not bad.
I will not argue. Like, anyways, nobody seems to notice him at first, and he kind of like leans his arm against this poster
for the rules. It's just a repetition of the rules.
Yeah, and it's got a glass cover on it, and he's like leaning his arm against it, and then he knocks the poster of the 4 rules off the wall. We hear the frame break, and everybody stops.
And they all just turn and look at him. They seem astounded.
And then somebody yells, "Someone get Fred!"
Yeah.
When Fred greets him, we find out that it's been almost 300 years since the chief made an Angelus. Mm-hmm. And we learn that the MC's name, our main character's name, is Ulysses.
Because Fred pulls that stamp up and looks at it. So apparently the stamp they're just placed with there is their name.
Mm-hmm. And in the background, some Angeli put the poster back up on the wall, and it's no longer got broken glass, even though we definitively heard that glass break.
They're divine beings, supposedly. It's fine. Deal with it. Here's our first joke for what's going to be a comedy show. And it is Ulysses just questioning why his name is Ulysses. If Fred's name is Fred and not Fred's, why is Ulysses' name plural? Yeah, but Ulysses does sound weird, so I guess Ulysses is better. Also, that was a lot of S's, and I apologize because that's never fun to hear in a microphone.
I'm more like...
Well, in earphones.
Okay, so I get the like name joke that's going on here, but he also knows he's an Angelus, which is an a singular and ends with an S, and the plural is Angeli. Why would he assume that
Ulysses it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And also just feels kind of tilted. It's obviously meant to be like a fish out of water experience. Like, here's this guy, we're just going to throw him in the deep end. Ha ha ha, it's going to be funny, except it's not.
Fred then gives Ulysses a tour, showing him around the office and showing him into the DAO machine, which Wanda is in charge of. Wanda we met in the introduction video. Mm-hmm. was a brief introduction, but she was there in the video.
Anytime she tried to speak, Fred cut in to say something else.
Mm-hmm.
She's the one that listed us the rules and mentioned the manual.
Yep. And Wanda's in charge of the DAO machine. Wanda...
Can I explain how the DAO machine works real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the DAO machine has these spinny lights on the side that kind of just go off when new matches are being made. And new matches are made by, it's attached to the ceiling with these little circular tracks where 2 balls come down. 1 red, 1 white. The red one is the Angelus, the white one is the human. They roll down, they fall into these little catches, they pull them out, and those 2 people are paired. The Angel's paired with that human.
It's kind of like a Powerball machine,
Exactly.
Except instead of like having, I don't know how many numbers are on the Powerball ticket. What, 10? That sounds right. We'll say 10. I don't gamble with the lottery system, people. If I gamble, it's a game I can much more control, like poker.
But yeah, instead of that, it is all the names for the Angelus in this district and however large of an area the district controls. Because we know, at least for them, it's a city, but we don't know the size of the city. We don't know what city it is. We don't know if it controls the outskirts of the city, who controls areas in between cities. That's not cleared up in these 2 episodes.
Yep. We're also then shown a very poorly kept gym area where the Angelus can work out and train because they have to have top tier reflexes.
Is it poorly kept?
I mean, it looks like it.
It looked like it was meant to be more dexterity training because it was like swinging hoops and like balls and like on slingshots and stuff.
Maybe it just felt very like
it felt pretty empty, not very new, I would say.
Yeah.
It feels very outdated, but I mean also it's a very millennia old probably gym.
And the Angelus here train the reflexes because apparently, despite the fact that they can turn invisible, they're still fully corporeal when they are down on Earth.
Yeah. So they are practicing that way they can slip through doors and windows and avoid physical contact with humans.
Yep. Then we get to the very end where we learn that each day the Angelus have to complete paperwork, which Fred specifies he only wants 1-page reports, no more.
Preferably 1 page.
Yep.
And we also have our second joke here, which also isn't very good.
Yeah, because we learned during this time that Wanda files the reports away.
Oh, that's the third joke.
Oh.
The second joke is as they're walking through, Ulysses sees what looks like a kid doing paperwork. He's like, oh, this doesn't seem right. From what I've read, child labor is extremely immoral. And then Fred's like, no, that's Cherub. He's been here for like 12,000 plus years.
Yeah.
It also wasn't funny. Fun fact, there was like a funny joke, a funny circumstance. And I think that's really it for the show. There was a funny joke, a funny circumstance. I guess the other one is kind of vaguely funny.
Like, there's humorous conceits to the show,
but they're not portrayed in a humorous way.
But nothing that actually makes you laugh. It's all like, hey, if you think about this, it is funny. It's just, we're not going to take the effort to make it like a joke.
Yeah, we're not actually going to put in the effort to make the joke. We're just going to hand you the pieces so you can assemble one yourself.
Anyways, during this tour, we learned that Wanda is responsible for the DAO machine. Mm-hmm. She also files the reports in the archives.
If you have any questions, ask her.
And this is the third joke, which is actually, I mean, it's the joke that anybody that's worked in any type of like job with middle management has already said before. Because Ulysses looks at Fred and he's like, well, then what's your job?
And Wanda goes, I like this kid, or something like that.
But the obvious joke being that all Fred does is stamp reports for Wanda to file.
Yeah, and Fred kind of huffily says, I supervise.
Mm-hmm. And anybody that's ever known middle management positions, that means basically do nothing.
And immediately after Fred says he supervises, Ulysses is introduced to his supervisors.
No, tutors.
It says supervisors in English dub. In the
I think
subtitles it says tutors, and that does feel more correct. They're more trainers, really.
I think calling them supervisors in the dub
was inherently wrong.
Is distinctly wrong.
That was I know. That's what I'm getting at. That's wrong. They probably should have called them trainers.
Mm-hmm. Because specifically, Fred is the supervisor.
Mm-hmm. And his 2 trainers, as I prefer to call them, are Chun and Greta.
Yep. And I took a note here because we get Greta teaching Ulysses the ropes here. She takes him out into the world and starts showing him stuff. But I took a note here. And this note says, the humor of the show seems to be completely based on Ulysses questioning things that nobody has thought to question him before.
Oh yeah, there's a point right here after Greta goes... Because Chun's just happy there's a new Angelus, and Greta's upset that there's only one new Angelus, because since the last time they got a new one, humanity's population has gone from 600 million to 7 billion, and that's a
tenfold increase.
Yeah. And she's upset, and Chun's just like, don't question the chief's decisions. It's the chief. He knows what he's doing. And then, basically, out of nowhere from this, well, actually, sorry. Ulysses goes to adjust his tie, like, loosens it a bit. Mm-hmm. And Fred's just like, stop that. The tie is part of what we do. We want to look professional and everything. And Ulysses just goes, but humans can't see us, right? And they're all like, yeah. Well, then why are we wearing ties?
Yep, so, like I said, the humor in the show is all Ulysses asking questions other people don't ask. Why do we wear ties if the humans can't see us?
Why? And then no one answering because they don't know.
What does my name end in an S if it's not plural? How do we know the other districts exist? How do we know that the chief is working behind the closed door? Like, all these questions that other people aren't asking. Anyways, Greta shows Ulysses around, and they're on a train together. A bus?
I think it's a bus, yeah.
Okay. And Ulysses sees a redhead, and he's like, oh, another Angelus.
And he goes to talk to her and touches her, and Greta's like, not all redheads are angels, because I'm going to call them angels because fuck this show.
Yeah.
And he's like, wait, what? They're not? And he's like, no. Also, don't touch humans. It causes like a chill to go up their spine.
Yeah. Humans are fragile. It makes them cold to touch them. We then follow Greta into a cab, and because we're following a human throughout their day.
I mean, you kind of skip the cabs after the first part where we see the human.
Oh, yeah. I didn't care. I didn't take notes for that part. You're talking about the part where...
Well, there's a part here on the bus that I'd like to know. So... they practice going in through windows and doors. That way humans never notice them. And then Ulysses asks how they're going to get into their human's house that they're supposed to be watching over today. Mm-hmm. And Greta just says a master key, which apparently would, from the way they're referring to it, opens any door. So why the fuck do you need to know to squeeze through doors and go in through windows as much?
Because you're not supposed to use the key, obviously, because if you use the key, they can see the door open.
But they have the key, so why would you give the key to them?
I don't know. The show's bad.
Yeah. So then we get a screen that says day 1. And we cut back to the office where we see the DOA machine. And then it matches Greta and Ulysses with their human. And then they go to her. This first intro is weird because he's on the bus. He's on the human world with Greta. And then we go back to the office and see them get assigned.
Yep. And they're assigned to this woman who doesn't wear her glasses most of the time, even though
she should.
She has bad vision.
And we see Greta do like small things. Like she kicks a pillow by a stack of books. And the person gets up, hits the books, and knocks her glasses on them so they don't break. She also, I think, kicked over, like, what looked like a pincushion filled with needles that was just on the floor.
I guess, yeah.
So then the girl steps on it, but the pins are now on the bottom side. However, that's not how a pincushion generally works, because when you would apply pressure, the sharper parts of the needle would then go through the pillow and into your foot.
Look, I don't know.
I don't know if that's what it was. It's what it looked like. And then she also knocks a ladle, I think, off the stove.
Yeah, so that she remembers to turn the stove's flame off.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of lame. And when we finally do leave the apartment, Greta steals a sock on her way out.
Yeah.
Greta's gimmick of stealing things is kind of funny. Like,
true.
It's a background thing for most of it, but it is kind of funny. Mm-hmm. She steals a pin later, and like apparently this is just normal shit for her. She steals stuff all the time.
The thing is that bothers me about it is if that was a one character thing, I'd be fine with it. It'd make Greta more of a character. Mm-hmm. The problem that we see almost immediately after she steals the pin is there are like 3 giant clear bins that are like shoulder height for people, filled with pins, markers, and I think the third one's socks. So it just implies angels are the ones who like, oh, I can't find my pin. Where did it go? An angel fucking stole it. Oh, I can't find a sock. An angel fucking stole it. Like, well, what's the fucking point? As a single character, that's actually a fun character trait. But the fact that it's just something they all seem to fucking do ruins it.
Yep. So we follow their DAO person into a taxi.
Yeah, and she's wearing her glasses but takes it off immediately after getting in the car, basically. Because... as Greta suggests, probably, she doesn't think they look good.
So Greta then whispers in the cab driver's ear, and the cab driver looks back at
their DAO.
And is like, those glasses look really good on you. You should wear them more often. And so she puts her glasses back on because she got a self-confidence boost from this driver. And Ulysses is like, oh, what did you do there? And she's like, well, cab drivers are transmitters. Cab drivers and manicurists, we can talk to them, and what we tell them, they take and internalize as life advice and give it to other people.
Yeah, which is actually the one pretty decent joke in this show.
Because then Ulysses is like, what about Uber drivers?
No, those don't count.
Yeah. So there's your one funny, like, joke. It's just the delivery is very poor and the setup is poor. Basically, how we just delivered it is how the show delivered it.
Yeah. And, you know, the whole punchline there is, well, taxi drivers and manicurists, and generally thrown in there from my understanding are hairdressers, but whatever, give pretty good life advice, or for some reason we fucking go to them for life advice. Also, I feel like a bartender should probably be thrown in there, but whatever. But, like, that's the joke. Haha, these people that stereotypically give good advice, only give good advice because they can hear angels.
Yep. So the taxi is going to a vet because this woman has a bird that is sick. And this scene could be funny, but it just like goes on too long.
Yeah.
Because she takes the bird to the vet.
And she's like, I think the bird might be allergic to cigarettes.
Cigarettes, yeah. And the vet's like,
well, why
shouldn't be smoking cigarettes to begin with.
Yeah, birds shouldn't smoke cigarettes. I have so many birds that come here and smoke. Smoking's not good for them. I had a pair like just last week that smoked cigars. That was bad for it. And she's like, I'm the one that smokes. She's like, you probably shouldn't do it on the bird. They have tiny lungs.
Yeah, it actually goes on much longer than that, but that's the basis of it.
Yeah. But here that we do get the fact that Ulysses is bothered by more than just the menial things they do, because the vet is like pushed back against this wall and we see a bird cage above him coming a bit loose. It's like hanging on a nail. And he points it out to Greta and she's just like, don't do anything about it. It's not your DOA.
By the time our DAO does leave the vet, though, this cage comes loose from the wall and bonks the guy. Like, I honestly expected much worse because bird cages are heavy.
Right?
I was like, man, this dude is dead.
Opens desk drawer, pulls out medicine.
No, he pulls out...
No, I'm getting there. And he's just like, do you want any? Have you tried MD... Well, in the dub, he says ecstasy, but the subtitles say MDMA.
Well, in the dub, he says Molly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then in the subtitles, it's MDMA then.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I've got a bunch of things like that. So this vet's just also high all the time at work, apparently.
Yep. And that ends his first day out in the field, where they go back into the Angelus HQ, write up their report, stamp it a couple of times, and it goes away forever. Yeah. And then Ulysses is like, oh, I get it. So the next time somebody has this person,
they can look at the report and know what's been going on.
And then Fred's like, no, the report exists to be the report. It doesn't have any other functionality. It exists to get filed.
Yeah. So once again, the show falls into the whole, haha, corporate shit that's dumb and doesn't serve a purpose, but they do anyways just because it's a thing that they do. And, that can actually be a pretty good setup and amusing thing for a show.
It just has terrible delivery. Like
there are so many shows that make fun of shit like that. Like, the entire fucking bureaucracy agency that fucking, Hermes works for in Futurama.
Or Better Off Ted. Like, this...
Yeah, but, like, I used the Hermes example, though, because it is, like, dry as bone. Like, we literally just fill out paperwork. But they do it well because they either blow it to such a ridiculous proportion that it's just stupid funny, or they show that, like, okay, you filled out this form, but now you have to fill out a form for filling out that form.
Yeah. So we jump to the second day where Ulysses and Chun, his other tutor, are assigned to a teenage boy.
Mm-hmm. And at first he's just playing video games, and we do get an amusing-ish shot. Like, I do like the setup for how they're doing it, where Ulysses is literally just staring straight down at this kid as the kid stares through him to play video games because he's invisible. It's a good use of the fact that those characters are invisible. Fun trope. It's a normal, fun thing to do with that power. And Ulysses is just like, is this all he's going to do all day? Are we not going to do anything else?
And Chun's like, this is kind of a normal day.
Mm-hmm.
But then the kid, this teenager, just stops playing video games. Like, suddenly, like, he pauses the game.
He didn't die on screen or anything. He appeared to be playing online.
Pauses the game, sets his controller down, pulls his phone out, and starts masturbating.
Mm-hmm. And Ulysses is just like, oh, and turns away. And he's just like, is that? And she's just like, that's pretty normal. It's a whole puberty thing. This kid I had the other day masturbated for like 3 hours and 43 minutes. I timed it.
And Chun, like, the thing is, Chun isn't just watching him masturbate. He's, like, getting down in there. Chun.
It's important for that one joke later.
Yeah, sorry. Chun isn't just, like, watching this kid masturbate. He's, like, getting down in there. Like,
you know that thing where if you were in high school, you have a student, like, staring down at you while you're, like, filling out homework or taking a test or something. They're just, like, staring down over your shoulder, head tilted down. He's in that pose above this kid.
Who is, again, masturbating.
Yeah.
So, Greta is a thief. And Chun is literally a pedophile.
Yeah, so while that's happening, Ulysses walks to the window and he just sees a homeless guy get hit by a car. And then the car takes off.
And Ulysses goes out there to help, but then a woman comes up to help the homeless man instead. And Ulysses just kind of follows them around.
Yep.
And that's what he does for the rest of the day. Because he doesn't want to watch a teenager masturbate.
Yeah, no, that's just fucking weird, man. So the woman takes the guy back to her place, patches him up, gives him a card, tells him to call her if he needs help or anything. We didn't see her at this point. I wasn't sure if it was a roommate or boyfriend. It is her boyfriend, we learn.
Yeah, based on the conversation, I was like, this is her SO of some sort.
I wasn't entirely sure, like,
But they get in an argument, and he's like, you missed a job interview for this?
She's like, I care about other fucking people. What the fuck?
He's like, you can't just be bringing strangers back to our house. Like,
and then he goes off about how she cares about other people more than herself. And she's like, I left my fucking parents' place so I didn't have to hear that shit. I didn't move in here so I would have to hear it again.
Yeah, she's like, I don't need your rules. And he's like, maybe you do need rules. And she's like, no, I'm a free thinker and I don't need rules. Yeah, so...
And then she walks back to her living room, and this guy has left a very well done painting, just like sitting in a chair.
Yep.
That was a nice painting. Call it now. Favorite part of both these episodes? The painting.
Honestly, her dialogue is so cringy with her boyfriend.
Oh, yeah. That. And when we see them again later, the dialogue is bad with them.
Yep. Back at Angelus HQ, though, Ulysses is about to do some training in the gym at the behest of Chun and Greta.
He doesn't really want to.
Yeah, like I said, at the behest of Chun and Greta. He's like, do I have to do this? Like,
and before he has to, Fred shows up, and Fred is angry.
Because the report from Chun and Ulysses
has a list of suggestions from Ulysses that are in there, and Fred's not happy about suggestions.
Suggestions on the way to make the Angelus operation a little more better.
Mm-hmm.
Ulysses is then lectured about how the district is a 5-star district and no angel in the district has ever broken any one of the 4 rules.
Mm-hmm.
We also learned that if an angel does break one of the 4 rules, they will suffer maximum punishment, which is they stop existing.
Yeah, we don't learn that from Fred. Fred doesn't explain what more beyond maximum punishment is, but we learn later.
No, he does.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, he says the chief made you, the chief can unmake
Oh, yeah, he
you,
destroys angels, yeah. So Fred's like,
I haven't broken any of the 4 rules, though.
Ulysses says he hasn't broken any of the 4 rules. But no, Fred says, but he doesn't have the power to do that. But he does have the power to punish impudence and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And man, is his punishment the best. It's the greatest punishment ever. He loves what he has an idea of for punishment.
Yeah, his punishment is to make you watch Nick Cage's City of Angels for an eternity. And see, I'm going to go ahead and step out of the actual episode for a moment.
Yeah.
When we watched the trailer for this show, which is why we watched the show, because the trailer was goddamn fucking hilarious.
The trailer cut every one of these setups or jokes at the perfect time to where it didn't murder the joke.
Yeah,
it made the joke.
In the trailer, the joke was, do you know what happens to Angelus who breaks one of the 4 rules? Maximum punishment. And then cut to our primary character looking at Fred like, wow, what's that? And then Fred going, watching City of Angels.
Starring Nicolas Cage for all of eternity.
And like, that's a funny joke. It's like, if an angel fucks up, their punishment's to watch this bad movie, which is a bad movie. Like,
and so you might be thinking, well, that's where we're at with what you're explaining for the scene. Like, that's just what happened. Except Fred goes on. Because he explains why this is a bad punishment. We can't just let it sit there and be a joke. Fred needs to explain why it's a bad punishment.
Oh yeah, if Fred would just stop right here, it's still funny because like the context of it isn't anything like contextual. It's, oh, Nicolas Cage has this movie about angels and you're forced to watch it for all of eternity.
Yeah.
Ha ha, Nicolas Cage is a bad actor.
But instead, Fred has to explain why it is a punishment for angels. And it's because in City of Angels, if you haven't heard, Fred's going to give us a little synopsis here. In City of Angels, an angel becomes human, and that's not good. Because humans are gooey and gross, and they have to pay bills, and they're horrible, and they're inferior beings.
I think he actually calls them a pestilence at one point.
I think maybe. Yeah, so just throwing that out there. A little review within the show we are reviewing. City of Angels is bad because humans are horrible and inferior, and they have to pay bills. And honestly, I'm going to agree. Like, paying the bills makes humans pretty shit.
Yeah. Like I said, this is a funnier joke if you just don't explain it. Like,
yeah. Because when he explains it, he makes it not a joke anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's not even like explaining the joke ruins the joke. Because he doesn't explain it as a joke. He explains it as this punishment that's not, it's just bad.
See, it's funnier if we just assume angels think that this is the worst movie ever made and that this is literal torture. Like, that's funnier than explaining that it's a bad film because an angel turns into a human.
Exactly. Like, the way this joke should have worked wouldn't have been him explaining anything. It could have been like replaced any other movie where angels are involved. That maybe they didn't like the punishment is to watch angels in the outfield for all of eternity
because the angels directly interfere with human existence. Like,
and they play baseball, and angels hate baseball.
Like, that's a funny joke too. Like, if you don't explain it, like if you just make the assumption that angels hate baseball,
right?
Like,
the problem is though, like the way that, like I said, the way that joke should be set up is replace City of Angels with any other movie with angels in it, and boom. Funny, they don't like that representation of angels. Cool.
Yeah, so anyways, we cut to Chun, Ulysses, and Greta, and they're just walking about on Earth, and Chun and Greta are arguing about who they would save if they could. What famous human?
Greta would save Einstein.
Because he's smart.
And physics is neat.
And Chun would save Disney because I guess he likes corporate overlords.
His explanation is that no kid under 6 is going to know who Einstein is, but they don't know who Disney is. And Greta's just like, kids suck.
Since when have we ever cared about small humans?
Yeah. Anyways, Einstein was learning and understood so much about the interworkings of the universe. My point here is just, why the fuck do you care about what a human thinks about the interworkings of the universe? You work under God.
Then Ulysses sees the homeless man from earlier, and when the woman bandaged him up, she's like, you can't get this bandage wet.
Yeah. And just as he sees him, Greta asks Ulysses, who would you save?
And Ulysses kind of just blinks out, and Greta and Chun are like, we'll leave him here. And they walk off.
And then it starts to rain.
And Ulysses is looking at this homeless man who's getting rained on, and his bandage can't get wet. So Ulysses takes a rock and throws it through a store window.
Well, this rock is just another point for something I'm probably mentioning my end of note stuff. He picks up this rock, and it's pouring down rain, and we get like this angled shot from like down by where the homeless guy is looking up at him, holding this rock. Then we get just cuts of the rock and his hand tightening, and then him bringing it back. And then it's the window breaking, and he's carrying the homeless guy inside. I mentioned that, though, because this is a rather, like, tense and suspenseful shot. And the setting, I'm going to fucking mention it now. The way they set the office building, the way they set the lighting, the color scheme, all of it, the filmography of it.
Yeah.
Wanted to shoot like a fucking suspense thriller. That's what they wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
I know it's listed as a comedy, but goddamn is it not a comedy.
Honestly, with some of the shit they even do dialogue-wise, if they didn't try to be a comedy and they just buckled down a bit more on, like, suspense or thriller, the show would be better.
Yep. So, like you said, Ulysses carries the homeless man into this, like...
I would have to assume it's a fucking furniture store.
Yeah, it's a furniture store.
We never really see what it is, but there's a bed right in the fucking window, and it's a giant plate glass window.
And it's not just like a bed, it's like a bedroom set.
Yeah, it looks like a little...
dressers and stuff. Like
setup.
Yeah. So then we cut to the bar, and Ulysses walks in while Chun and Greta are still talking about people they would save. And Greta's like, oh, Rookie, are you enjoying the rain? And he's like...
My name's not Rookie. It's not Ulysses.
My name is Yuli.
Yuli. I choose Yuli.
And, like, this is a really intense scene, too. Like, this is...
Well, yeah, because his head's angled down. We have the shadows under his eye. It's, again, a dark lit room. He is backed against the storming sky. They're back against this, like, lightened bar. So we have him diametrically opposed to light. And he's in the dark over here.
And he is, like, actively choosing to go against the chief who chose his name for him.
And it's just gone against the chief's, like, rules.
Yeah, so, like... This scene is so dramatic.
Like this show doesn't want to be a comedy, but it's what they shopped it as. Fun fact, the show has 1 season, okay?
Probably deservedly so. But anyways, back out on the street, they pass the homeless man who's now getting arrested, and it's no longer raining.
And Chun and Greta are just like, you're not involved in this, are you? And he's like, no.
Tell us you're not involved with this. And he's like, I'm not involved in this. And they're like, God damn it. Yuli, what did you do?
They're so fucking upset. And Chun's just like, you fucking broke one of the rules. Do you know what's going to happen? You're going to disappear now.
He's like, I haven't disappeared yet, have I?
And then they kind of just ignore him saying that. And they're just like, and we're going to get in trouble too. And Yuli, as I started taking him notes, because before it was just you, my phone kept pointing autocorrected to I, but I wasn't fucking typing out Ulysses all the fucking...
No, the thing is, the way they spell Ulysses in this show is not how...
Yeah, it has, it's ULISSES.
Which my phone is like, that is not a word. What are you doing?
Yeah. So they're just like, we're going to get in trouble. It's like, no, the chief knows everything. He's going to figure it out. And they're just like, not the chief. Fred's going to fucking punish us because like, we're watching you.
And then Yuli's like, well, I'll fix it. Don't worry. And they're like, no, you stay here. You don't do anything else.
They're like, no, you stay here. You're not going to do anything else. You're going to disappear. And he's just like, looks at his hands for a moment.
And then he runs off.
Yeah. And we cut to him in the office. And again, it's another fucking dramatic shot. We have other people walking. He's in this dark area.
He's dripping wet.
He's dripping wet. Everyone else is dry. And then he's just determinedly walking towards the camera.
Yeah, and he proceeds down the hall to the chief's office.
Which the chief's office alone, the setup is dramatic. It's this long, thin hallway that is dark with this giant steel door that looks like it belongs in a submarine.
And he enters the chief's office.
And there's an ominous choral like, oh.
And he's now broken 2 of the 4 rules, which I assume by the the idea is he's going to break all the rules, obviously. He's a rule breaker. In the office, everything is black, and we just see Yuli walking around until he comes to another door, which after he opens this one...
It's like half his height, dude.
Yeah.
The first one was giant, and this one's tiny.
After he opens this one, though, we see a machine which appears to operate the DAO machines.
Oh, yeah, it's all these gears and pulleys, and we see a wheel spinning.
It's powered by a hamster on a wheel.
Mm-hmm. God is a hamster.
I mean, there's some conclusions we can reach here. Chun will later reach the conclusion that God as a hamster for a pet.
Mm-hmm. So our choices here are God is a hamster. Mm-hmm. God has a hamster for a pet. God is gone has just set up this machine to run in the background. Or God is the machine, and the hamster is just what powers the machine.
Literal Deus Ex Machina?
Yeah.
I like the idea that the hamster is God. Like that's some funny shit to me, just from like an idea perspective.
Like, if at some point in either of these two episodes, or maybe even further along, they just go to the hamster and they're doing something just like, halt, my children.
Yeah, so...
What have you done? It's just like, you obviously have to give the hamster like this really deep voice. Mm-hmm. And just have him like kind of perch up and hold out a little paw, and it'd be fucking great. But no, that's not what happens.
So he goes up a staircase and finds a myriad of these machines all spitting out DAO balls.
You know those little lottery things where they spin to pull the ball out, or in a bingo thing? It's just one of those. Except on giant scales, and it's a fuck ton of them as far as you can see.
When I saw this like giant like myriad of machine, I assumed that like each individual district had a hamster running in
as would make sense.
But Yuli comes back down the stairs and he sticks his finger in the hamster wheel, and the hamster doesn't just like stop. The hamster gets like fired out of the hamster wheel and smacks a wall
at an angle that doesn't make sense, because he flies past Yuli, who is standing in front of the wheel, and it's a wheel. So if the hamster stopped running and got flung, he should be flung into the wheel, but he gets flung out of the side and then bends around Yuli and hits the wall.
Yep. Which stops all the DAO orders, and
the hamster's dead.
Yeah, this sets into the actions from the beginning of the episode, where there are no angels protecting people, and car wrecks are up, and gymnastic events are like...
And we see Angeli in districts all over, and they're just fucking confused and kind of terrified because the fucking DAO has stopped working.
Yep.
And that's the end of episode 1.
So, I'm going to go ahead and hit my notes real fast, because they're kind of short. The show is not funny, despite being billed as a comedy. It's got a couple of moments where, like, when you think about it, you're like, oh, yeah, that's kind of funny. Or, that was a good joke if it was, like, executed as a joke. But it doesn't actually tell any jokes. It just has funny situations.
That like, they don't build to make funny.
Like, there's an obvious humor behind God being a hamster. Like, that is funny as a concept. But the show is too serious about everything that you can't appreciate the humor of God being a hamster.
Yeah, like, Gillis just doesn't even have a reaction to it, really. He's just like, hamster dad. It's not like the boss isn't here, the chief isn't here. It's just, oh, this is a weird machine with a hamster. It's not like, oh my God, is God a hamster? There's no shock on Ulysses. He's just like, time to explore.
At this point, I would not watch another episode. We did, obviously. But at this point, I would not watch another episode. I would curl up on the couch and go to sleep, which is kind of what I did.
Yeah. So, my thoughts. I covered my major thought, which is just if someone had, taken the direction that the filmography wanted to go, and the tone of the show wanted to go, and the lighting of the show wanted to go, and the setting of the show wanted to go.
The writer and the director were not on the same page.
No.
Whoever was writing this was like, fucking, this is a comedy. I'm bad at telling jokes, but this is a comedy. And whoever was directing it was like, this is the most serious thing you've ever watched in your entire life.
I don't even know if it's that. It feels more like, because a lot of the other lines don't have, like, jokes. It's kind of just explaining stuff. What it feels like more to me is, like, everyone involved in this project originally was like, okay, this is going to be a suspense thriller. And then, like, a producer or someone brought in this writer via nepotism and is just like, here we go. Get this guy a job. He's the funniest fucking guy I know. And he's just like, okay, so I got this joke in there. I was just like, it's fucking bad. How the fuck do we fit this in here? And it just got shoehorned in. And there's no reaction to it in the show because it doesn't belong in the show.
You know how I said the show has funny scenarios, but doesn't like actually turn them into jokes?
Yeah.
Jumping to the very beginning of the next episode, we have Yuli giving a hamster CPR.
Yeah.
And that should be funny.
But it's just not.
Like, watching a grown man give a hamster CPR should be funny.
Yeah, and even once the hamster comes back, it tries to scurry away, which would...
Yeah.
But no, we get nothing. But yeah, no, my overall thing is the show doesn't feel like it's allowed to be the show that it wants to be. It wants to be an entirely different genre of a show, it feels like. And it doesn't do that.
There are two very good shows within this show, and neither of them are allowed to exist because of the way the show is made.
Yeah. So
there is a comedy, and there is a serious drama, but not together.
Exactly. And because of that, I have no fucking motivation to watch episode 2.
Anyways,
we did.
Episode 2 is entitled, Oh My Hamster.
Get it? Because God's a hamster.
Yeah, like, oh my God, oh my hamster. Mm-hmm. And we open on Yuli giving CPR to the hamster, like I said. It's literally the first scene.
And it comes back to life. But I had to put, I think, because we're so far zoomed out in this shot that we don't really see anything, and he seems to scramble for a moment. I'm like, I think he got the hamster, right?
And I was pretty sure the hamster died at the end of episode 1, but
I wasn't entirely sure if it was dead.
Like, I think the idea is the angels, like, have the breath of life.
Yeah, because later when he takes the hamster to a vet, the vet's just like, this thing should be dead.
Yeah, so, like, my thought was, oh, the hamster did die, but Yuli literally breathed life into it.
Yeah, that was my assumption.
Anyways, the hamster scurries off, and Yuli leaves the...
he manages to catch it,
yeah,
put it in his pocket, and leaves God's office.
To go talk to Chun and Greta.
Well, I don't think that's his reason for leaving, but the moment he steps out at the end of the hallway, are Chun and Greta, and just like, what are you doing?
And he's like, oh, I talked to the chief.
He wanted to talk to me about breaking rules, you know? And, he wants to talk to you guys now.
And they're like, he wants to talk to us? And they're terrified because, like, as far as they're concerned, the chief only creates NGLI and destroys NGLI and works on the master plan.
So they're angry, confused, scared. They're just like, I don't want to. And he's just like, it's fine. See, look, I didn't get punished. It's all fine. And so after, like, assuring them they're not going to get punished, he didn't get punished, everything's fine, he gets them to go inside.
Yep. And they enter, and they see all the machinery and the hamster, which apparently has an injured paw.
Mm-hmm. And Greta's just confused by everything that's going on. And Chun is just immediately apologizing to this empty room. Just like, I'm sorry, Chief. I didn't mean to come in here. You know, I was told to. I was told you wanted me. I'm so sorry I'm here.
Hey, do you think Chun enjoys watching teenage boys masturbate because he's a good Christian? Or do you think he just takes... Or do you just think he takes it super seriously and he doesn't necessarily enjoy it? He's just super pious about his duty?
hope the second one.
He's like, there's only 2 options, and one of them is the show is literally making fun of, like...
Yeah. So then we see Yuli showing Greta and Chun around, and he's just like, yeah, the balls are here, they get moved by this wheel, and then they come down the chute. And as he's leaning against the chute, we get a shot of a pipe above him that doesn't appear to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And a bolt on it. It's a very new bolt on a very old pipe.
Yep. And the new bolt is loose.
Mm-hmm.
But we also here find out that Chun believes the hamster is the chief's pet. And Greta's just like...
There is no chief. The chief doesn't exist.
You're fucking kidding me. This entire time. There's been no chief. It's just been a fucking lottery machine. Yeah, so... Yuli and the crew take the hamster to the vet from the previous episode.
Mm-hmm. We get a name here, but I never noted it because I didn't give enough fucks.
Yeah, and the vet's like, well, you gotta pay me somehow.
Well, no, first the vet is just talking to his parrot and using what looks like he's using an oxygen setup to smoke weed, assumedly, because it is a thick smoke, but it didn't appear to be nitrous or anything like that, and he was acting more high off like marijuana than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yuli gets the vet to agree to treat the hamster.
Yeah, after trying to figure out how he becomes visible, because despite it being a rule that they're not allowed to be visible to humans, none of the angels know how to become visible because no one's ever done it, which implies, why do you even make it a rule if no one knows they can do it to prevent people from doing it?
Well, what if they accidentally discover how to do it? Now they know they can't.
Then you make the rule.
I mean, it's been at least 13,000 years.
And no one's ever done it.
No one in this district has done it.
No one's in this district has done it. But the person reading the rules and establishing everything in the beginning was Fred. And we know that one of the oldest people there is Cherub, and no one in this district has done it. So, just shoehorn that rule away so people forget it's a thing they can do.
But eventually, after negotiating with the vet, Uli agrees to trade one of his angel feathers for the service.
Mm-hmm. And Chun and Greta are like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah. Meanwhile, accidents are piling up, and the Angeli in the 5511 district are freaking out.
The Angeli everywhere are, but we focus, of course, on 5511.
And Fred and Wanda are freaking out. They're trying to decide what to do. And Fred's just like, how will the Angelus line up? We'll find out who's missing, take roll call, and just wait for the machine to turn back on. Mm-hmm. Like I said, meanwhile, accidents are piling up outside. And then Uli has the idea to have Chun spin the wheel while they get the hamster fixed.
Yeah, he has the idea because they're standing outside 4 hours later from giving the vet the hamster. And him and Chun are still having this argument because Chun's just like, because the moment they step outside, because Chun's upset that he's going to give away an angel feather and that Uli broke rules, he's just like, dude, you're going to disappear. And before we cut to the office and to 4 hours later, Uli's just like, I don't think so. And it comes across as mocking, but I'm not sure if it's meant to be. He's just like patting his chest, looking at his hands. He's like, I'm still here. And then 4 hours later, they're ending up that argument of Chun just being like, I promise you, it's going to happen. It just takes a while. And then the news report talks about all the accidents and stuff. And Yuli's just like, I know how to get rid of this guy who's annoying me and fix this issue. I'm not sure if that's his thought process, but I hope at least someone here is vaguely intelligent.
Yep, so they head back to the chief's office, and Uli's like, look, all you have to do is rotate this wheel.
Well, kind of pulling this belt, because the belt's attached to a pulley.
Yeah.
Well, to a wheel attached to the hamster wheel, so when the hamster runs, it moves this.
So all you gotta do is make this wheel turn, and then the balls will come out, and the DAO machines will work again.
And Chin's like, I don't think I should do that. And Yuli's like, but the chief made you, and the chief made me, and I came in here, which means the chief knew I would come in here, and I would bring you, so the chief, it must be part of the chief's plan to have you do this, and that's gonna save everything, so the chief's plan is for you to save everything.
Who's gonna save everything? Chun. Who's gonna be the chief's favorite? Chun. And we eventually just like...
Chun's moving the pulley, just going, Chun, 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 Chun.
Yeah, we get... Yeah. Get it? It sounds like choo, 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 choo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's funny. See? It's humor. This is
man,
a comedy.
so fucking hilarious.
We come back out to the 5511 office, and Fred seems to literally be on the point of a breakdown.
Yeah.
When the machine starts back up.
And it starts back up just as he puts his hand on the machine out of like a sigh of like exhaustion. Just like puts his hand on the machine. It starts back up. And it's like, I fixed it. And he's doing this really like stupidish wave where both his hands are above his head instead of like waving them side to side or just one. He's like kind of leaning forward and pulling them back. Like,
yeah, no, he's praising the machine.
No, he's doing it towards every other Angeli to get their attention that he fixed the machine.
Fair.
It looks so dumb.
So they get the DAO balls rolling again, and then a nut falls off a pipe and finds its way to Fred and Wanda, and Fred and Wanda are like, what the fuck is this?
Well, that happens a bit later, but it's not super important.
I mean, it's basically right here.
Well, it actually happens after Fred stops Yuli and Greta on their way out.
Oh, yeah, because they got the DAO assignment.
Yeah, and Yuli plans on heading to go to Valdir, the homeless guy, and get him out of jail because he got him arrested. And Greta's just like, why would I do that? But then Fred comes up to stop them, and he's like, wait, you gotta get your DOAs. And Yuli's just like,
DAOs?
I don't give a fuck. And Yuli's just like, but I'm not authorized for that. And then we see his name got matched with someone. So congratulations, he's promoted.
It's literally the kid from yesterday.
Julio, the boy Chun violated.
Yeah.
He violated his privacy, his decency, and I hope nothing else.
And as Greta and Yuli leave the office, Greta's like, I'm just not going to do my job anymore. There's no point.
Yeah,
you can't. Like,
she throws away her stamp and just sits down to watch these guys play basketball.
And she's like, it doesn't matter. All our commands are coming from a hamster, so...
No. She never calls it a hamster. She just constantly refers to it as a rat.
Yeah. Uli tries to help the homeless man Valdir out.
Yeah, he's in the police station, and the guy's just like, look, I didn't break the window. And the cop's just like, yeah, everyone says that. He's like, can you at least call that woman on that card? She said she would help me out if I needed it. And the cop's just like, oh, this one? Okay. No. And then just throws it in the trash.
Yep, so using that, Uli gets the woman's name. Her name is Miriam. He goes and finds her, and they get into a discussion. Well, first, I guess we should clarify what Miriam does, because he finds Miriam at work.
Yeah, but before we know she's at work, we see her just talking to someone about how religion, society, stereotypes for sex and gender and all of this, fairy tales, all of it's bullshit, and you shouldn't let any of those things tell you who you are. And then we cut across, and sitting across from her is a little girl in a dress and a crown, and they're sitting in like a playhouse, and Miriam is also wearing a dress and a crown, and the girl's just like, but if you're not Elsa Cinderella, who are you? And she's just like, I'm whoever I want to be. Exactly. I am who I want to be. No one's going to tell me who I am. And the girl's just like, well, I'm Sheila, and walks away.
Yep.
It's also the only amusing part, really, of this episode.
So, turns out...
And even then, it's cringy from the way it's delivered.
Miriam dresses as a princess for children's birthday parties and stuff.
Yeah.
She then talks to her boyfriend who shows up, and he's like, we're running late. Don't worry about changing. I've always wanted to take a princess out for dinner anyways.
Yeah.
And then Uli shows up, and he's like, hey, I'm with this NGO, a nonprofit organization, and...
we're trying to get Valdir, the street prophet, which is apparently what they call
the
homeless guy. Problems, he's being detained downtown. And she's just like, so you just sit around waiting for people to book? She's like, we're very proactive.
Yep. And she's like, she starts questioning the angel wings and stuff, and he's like...
and she's like, so how'd you get me? He's like, well, he had your card. She's like, well, why didn't you call? He's like,
we don't have
telephones.
Again, this should be funny, but it's not. Eventually, she pepper sprays him, and he tells her that he's an angel, and she doesn't necessarily believe him.
She's just like, your first lie was better.
Yep. And then her boyfriend walks in, and they're in a room with no other exits. But her boyfriend walks in, and she's like, "This guy is stalking me." And
there was another attempt at a joke there too.
Oh, really?
Because I
didn't catch it.
It seems he thinks he convinces her because he's like, "Yeah." He's explaining angels. He's like, "And these are actual wings, so don't touch them. We can't actually fly though, so I guess I'm like a chicken." She's like, "Okay, sure. I'm just gonna go get my purse." And she's backing out of the room when her boyfriend shows up.
Yep. And she's like, "This guy's stalking me," and he's like, "What guy? There's nobody else in here." And then when her boyfriend finally leaves, she's like, "Oh yeah, we can also turn invisible to people."
And of course, as tropes dictate, he has to be right in her face when he turns invisible again.
Yep. So Miriam and Uli decide to sell one of Voldir's paintings to pay for Voldir's bell money.
And they come up with this plan right after Miriam breaks up with her boyfriend, which isn't really important in this episode. I have to assume in later episodes, Uli and Miriam are supposed to have like romantic tension or whatever. Yep.
So Miriam has a friend that works at an art gallery, and she takes the painting down there to try to sell it. And her friend's like, "I don't buy paintings from unknowns. If anybody knew who this was, I would be interested."
She says that just as she's getting in a cab.
And the cab driver's like, "Oh, hey, is that a Voldir the Prophet's painting?" And so
Miriam's just like, "I take cash or check?"
Yeah. And we see Uli's like sitting next to the cab driver, and he obviously just transmitted the thoughts into the cab driver.
Yeah.
Uli then picks the hamster up from the vet, but is told that it needs to rest.
Well, no, it's Uli and Miriam sitting waiting for the guy to make bell.
Okay, that's right.
And again, it doesn't do anything for this episode. I think it's just meant to establish them for future romance in it. And the fact that he doesn't understand why she's upset if she's the one that broke up with her boyfriend. She's just like, "I did like him, but we just had some issues. Like, it's understandable for me to be upset." And he's just like, "Sounds tough to be a person." And he's like, I have to go get a hamster from a guy to put him back on a wheel so we can start doing angel stuffing. And she's like, "I have no idea what you're fucking talking about."
I had to get a hamster, put it back on a wheel so the DAOs start rolling in again. And she's like, "Those words don't make sense in that context."
Yeah. And then she goes to talk to him again, but he's Batmaned away.
Yeah, because he's an angel. So he picks up the hamster from the vet and is told that the hamster needs to rest. It can't go right back in the wheel. And he's like, "Okay." And the vet's like, "Okay, I need an angel feather now. You promised." And he tries to pull one out. He's like, "They don't seem to come out. Bye. No angel feather for you.
I'll give you one next time I come back."
Which is going to be never. Fuck you.
Yeah. So they go back. He goes back and he puts the hamster on the wheel. And the hamster just takes right off. It doesn't seem to be.
Well, it's a little slow, but yeah. And everything kind of returns to normal. It all looks like it's a good day solved. Chun and Uli go back to pick up Greta.
And Greta's just like, "Why the fuck would I ever go back there? I'm never working again."
And they eventually convince her to pretend to work so that Fred doesn't have to find anything out. Unfortunately, though, another Angelus is reporting to Fred.
Yeah, Fred's busy staring at the bolt while this guy runs up to turn in his report, and Fred's just like, "You're late."
He's like, "I had a hell of a day."
Like, so she had this problem, and then her son got electrocuted, so she had to rush him to the hospital. And he's just like, her son is Julio, right?
And he starts flipping through papers on his desk. He's like,
Julio was assigned to Ulysses. And he gets angry and kind of crumples the papers in his hand. End of episode.
Yep. So that's the end of episode 2. Do you still think the show is not funny?
I still think the show is not funny. And I still think it wants to be a suspense or thriller. Like, every main beat of the story that it hits up is setting up for, like, every main beat of this is tension. Like, you don't need to ratchet tension in a fucking comedy unless you're going to immediately, like, dissolve the tension because it's supposed to be a joke, or you dissolve your tension with the joke.
So, this is totally off base, but I was wondering why the angels all had red hair.
A good thing to reason and wonder about.
And I came to 2 possible pieces of information. One is... what's his name? A specific angel.
Uriel is the angel of protection.
And he's the angel of the red light.
Yeah, he's generally depicted as being backed with, like, red lighting, having red hair, and he protects people, and these are angels that just go through doing tiny little things to keep people safe. So they all have red hair.
And the other thing I found was a quote from the prophet Joseph, where he's talking to a woman who claims an angel visited her.
And his first and only question is, what color was the angel's hair?
And her reply is red, and he laughs and says, "There are no angels with red hair." So either, depending on which context we want to take, either they're all servants of Uriel, the archangel of protection, or they are not angels.
Or the third option, and the one that I've lived almost my entire life by. Christianity, by itself, has no idea what the fuck it wants to do and makes no fucking sense.
To be fair, though, I don't know if it matters because I'm not going to watch any more episodes of the show.
I don't know if it matters. The show never got a second season. And I think it's only like 8 episodes long to begin with.
Yeah, so, hey, Justice, would you watch this show more outside of the context of this podcast?
Allow me to establish something. Most of the time, my final thoughts, I talk more than the notes I have because I don't write a lot of it down. It's just like these bullet points I want to hit. Generally, 3 to 6 points, I would say. This one just has 1. And it's just this. Allow me to say it verbatim. This show is straight boring. Because nothing ever goes anywhere. They don't know how to make the tone match the writing. They don't know how to make the writing actually funny.
Nothing
when they
in the
try
show,
to do a joke.
nothing clicks together. It's all...
Yeah, it feels like they try to go somewhere, but they don't. So eventually, we're just stuck in the same place.
I'm going to be honest. I'm actually kind of really upset that the show isn't funny because
the trailer made it look good. That's why we felt like watching
not just
it today.
The trailer, but like there's so much potential in this show.
The premise is pretty fun.
But it's just not good.
Yeah.
But you know what is good? Leaving us a review, like a 5-star review on iTunes to boost our SEO potential. Hey, why don't you leave us a review? Because that would be good, unlike this show.
You know what else is pretty good? The suggestions we've had from people.
Yeah.
Which, if you want to give us one of those, you can always reach out to us at our email, which is copilotsreview@gmail.com, and shoot us preferably good shows or shows that are so bad they're at least amusing to watch.
Yeah, like Tattooed Teenage Alien Fighters from Beverly Hills.
I think we've said this on multiple occasions. Middling shows are the worst to review. Like, this show is bad, but it's not so bad in a way that makes it fun to review or to lambaste. It's just, there's so little going on. It just...
Another option for reaching us, though, is our Twitter handle at CopilotsReview.
Or you can find all of our stuff, almost all of our stuff. The person in charge of doing it's a bit lazy. You can find most of our stuff on our YouTube at Copilots Review. Search Copilots Review.
But if you can't find us on YouTube by searching, you can find that YouTube link by going to our website at copilotsreview.simplecast.com.
Also on there, you can find our email, our Twitter, and a link to our Discord where we tell you when we have new episodes and where you can talk about the episodes with other people or us or ask us questions or tell us what shows you want us to watch on there. Or, because it's never going away, you can tell us about how Being Human... You can try to tell us about how Being Human isn't the greatest show ever, and we'll just tell you you're wrong.
Isn't the best vampire show ever.
True. The best vampire.
Yeah. Anyways, thanks for flying with us.
And please, fly again soon, because we have actual wings, not tiny little chicken wings.